When we talk about dance on film, images of Kevin Bacon in Footloose or Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey in Dirty Dancing flash across the mind. These movies frame the American dream through rhythm, but for a generation coming of age in the inner cities, the true soundtrack to revolution didn't start with ballroom steps. It was raw, electric, and born on the concrete. It was hip-hop, and one man stood at its volatile, mesmerizing epicenter, Shabba-Doo. They called him Ozone, the smooth, poetic b-boy from the groundbreaking film Breakin. But before Hollywood recognized the multi-million-dollar force of street style, Adolfo Quiñones was already a legend, the self-proclaimed godfather of street dance. He didn't just appear in a movie. He pioneered the culture, turning street skirmishes into dance battles and setting the trends that Madonna and Lionel Richie would later pay him handsomely to choreograph. Hip-hop's foundation wasn't just built on turntables and rhymes, it required the kinetic poetry of breakdancing. This is the story of a lone kid from the notorious Cabrini Green housing projects who found his voice, and his power, in the lock and pop. What becomes of an icon who defines an entire art form, only to find himself stepping out of the spotlight and later, tragically, out of this world? We explore the true legacy of the artist who showed the world that street dance was dignity, not just drama. The man who would become the godfather of street dance started life as Adolfo Quiñones. He was born on May 11, 1955, in Chicago, Illinois. His father was Puerto Rican, his mother Ethiopian, and she raised him and his sister Fawn as a single parent after his father left when Adolfo was just 3 years old. This foundational fracture meant that from an early age, Adolfo learned to cultivate an inner world. Adolfo spent his formative years primarily on the north side of Chicago, including time in one of the world's most notorious housing projects, Cabrini Green. Life there was characterized by danger, chaos, and struggle. For many, the neighborhood was a trap. For Adolfo, it became the crucible where his artistic spirit was forged. He was a loner, preferring to stay to himself, dancing, writing stories, and simply being creative. He understood early on that the volatility of the streets needed an outlet, and he chose movement over malice. His passion for dance was evident from the age of 4 or 5. His mother would often have small gatherings, and the young Adolfo would be asked to dance, absorbing the rhythms around him. He looked beyond his environment for inspiration, idolizing the grand movements of masters like Cab Calloway and Fred Astaire, alongside the raw soul power of James Brown and Jackie Wilson. He also listened heavily to salsa music, a nod to his Puerto Rican heritage. He carried an internal mantra: rather than settling disputes with his fists, he would challenge rivals to a dance battle. This was his chosen shield and his weapon. As he entered his teens, his name Adolfo became difficult for the kids to pronounce, so they shortened it to Alpo. He attended Cooley High, and while he did associate with the street thugs and gangsters, he constantly fought to focus on his dancing as a deliberate path away from gang life. The next crucial turning point came in the early 1970s. Recognizing the intensifying danger of Chicago, Adolfo's mother made the decision to move the family to Los Angeles, California. This relocation, while intended for safety, was a cultural shock for the 16-year-old. Los Angeles was a vibrant, loud explosion of bright, colorful clothes, a stark contrast to the more somber Chicago style. But Adolfo quickly adapted, finding himself right in the middle of the burgeoning West Coast dance scene. One night, his sister Fawn convinced him to enter a dance contest at Fullerton College. There, they met a dancer named Greg Campbellock Jr., who took first place. Adolfo and Fawn, used to outshining everyone in Chicago, were mesmerized by Campbellock Jr.'s locking style. They immediately asked him to teach them how to pop lock. This foundational style was created by Don Campbell after he struggled to execute the steps of the robot dance, leading him to freeze, or lock, his body. Campbellock Jr., impressed by Adolfo's and Fawn's raw talent, offered them a spot on the iconic Soul Train show. Adolfo, who had been heartbroken when Soul Train moved from Chicago to California, was now on his way. He was initially given the name Sir Lancelot, the youngest and last member of the original crew. It wasn't until he heard the R&B group Bloodstone harmonizing the word Shabba-Doo one night in a club that he found the name that would define his career, Shabba-Doo. He and Campbellock Jr. became close friends, with Campbellock Jr. serving as his mentor. Through him, Shabba-Doo met other future Hall of Fame Soul Train dancers, Fred Berry, known then as Mr. Penguin, Greg Pope, Bill, Slim the Robot, Williams, Scooby-Doo, and Fluky Luke. They practiced relentlessly and soon became popular mainstays on the Soul Train line. Show creator Don Cornelius knew they were single-handedly driving ratings higher than his rival show, American Bandstand. But their time was cut short by a classic industry betrayal. When Campbell and Berry requested a modest wage of $50 per episode, Don Cornelius flatly refused and summarily fired the entire group. They were not fighting for fame, they were fighting for value. The door to Soul Train had closed, but the world stage was about to open. The next chapter of their journey would see the birth of the Lockers, transforming a group of talented street dancers who were paid in KFC chicken into the professional act that Frank Sinatra would hire. The abrupt firing from Soul Train was not a setback, but the necessary pivot point for Adolfo Quiñones' career. Tony Basil, a dancer with deep connections to the entertainment industry who Don Campbell had taught the locking style, saw the raw potential of the group. She proposed a professional dance troupe, organized and choreographed by her, called the Lockers. This was the moment the street aesthetic was officially polished for the global stage. Shabba-Doo, recognizing the opportunity, dropped out of high school, and it was off to the races. The impact was instantaneous and historic. The Lockers became a phenomenon, performing on nearly every major American television variety show. They danced on Saturday Night Live, The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Carol Burnett Show, and most notably, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. They were so respected across the entire spectrum of entertainment that they were even hired to open for the legendary Frank Sinatra at Carnegie Hall, and performed for Sammy Davis Jr. and Roberta Flack. They didn't just perform, they were trendsetters, starring in beer commercials and establishing a new paradigm for dance. Despite their groundbreaking success, the group ultimately fractured. By 1977, creative differences led to the dissolution of the Lockers, and its members sought new avenues. Fred Berry, known as Mr. Penguin in the group, achieved lasting fame as rerun on the classic sitcom What's Happening. Tony Basil went on to become a platinum-selling singer with her hit, Mickey. Shabba-Doo embraced a solo career, determined to prove his worth beyond the group. He quickly landed roles, appearing on Broadway in Divine Madness and on television in The Big Show with Flip Wilson. He also appeared in the film Disco Fever. This move into acting demonstrated his versatility, setting him up as a true matinee idol. A crucial friendship and partnership was forged during this period with a young street dancer named Michael Chambers, better known as Boogaloo Shrimp. Boogaloo Shrimp was a popular b-boy known for his unique style, and his mother, a fellow Jehovah's Witness, trusted Shabba-Doo completely. Shabba-Doo quickly brought him into his circle, recognizing their shared vision for street dance. This partnership paid massive dividends in exposure. Shabba-Doo choreographed and appeared in the now classic music video for Lionel Richie's All Night Long. Boogaloo Shrimp, along with other breakers, was also prominently featured. They toured the world with Lionel Richie, taking their distinct b-boy style across international borders, including Japan. This was quickly followed by another iconic performance in Shaka Khan's video for I Feel For You, solidifying his status as Hollywood's go-to choreographer and talent. On the personal front, Shabba-Doo married his girlfriend, Gwendolyn Powell, another Soul Train dancer, in 1976. However, this marriage ended in divorce. Later, while working on the All Night Long video, he met and eventually married Leela Rashad, an actress who would later star in films like Waiting to Exhale and Boomerang. By 1983, Shabba-Doo was ready to shift from being a performer to a producer. He created Breaking and Entering, the first West Coast hip-hop documentary about breakdancing. This documentary was groundbreaking, introducing the world to future legends like Ice-T and the street dance scene's biggest stars, setting the stage for the single most important moment of his career, the film Breakin. The 1983 documentary Breaking and Entering that Shabba-Doo spearheaded quickly evolved into something much larger. The concept was sold to Canon Films, and it became the foundation for the cinematic movement known as Breakin. This film was more than entertainment, it was a cultural tipping point that finally delivered hip-hop to mainstream America. When Israeli directors Joel Silberg and others, who weren't necessarily immersed in hip-hop culture, were brought onto the project, they turned to Shabba-Doo for authenticity. They needed a choreographer, but they also needed a star, someone who embodied the essence of the streets. After Shabba-Doo's audition, the staff quickly fell in love with his style and the undeniable on-screen chemistry between him and his partner, Michael "Boogaloo Shrimp" Chambers. Shabba-Doo was cast as Ozone, and Boogaloo Shrimp as Turbo. Though Shabba-Doo was nearly 30 years old in real life, he convincingly played the 18-year-old character, drawing on his own past as a street-smart kid from Cabrini Green. On the strength of Shabba-Doo's network and reputation as the godfather of street dance, nearly all the street dancers featured in the movie were brought in, giving the film its authentic, gritty energy. Even action star Jean-Claude Van Damme and Muhammad Ali stopped by the set. The most profound detail about the film's authenticity was the wardrobe. The dirty-looking Converse, the rat-tail hairstyle, the hats, and the gloves were not costumes, they were the dancers' own clothes, their actual street style. Shabba-Doo also confirmed he was the one who pioneered wearing the bandana on the belt and the ankles, a visual trademark adopted worldwide. Breakin premiered on May 4, 1984, and was an immediate box office smash. Made for a tiny budget of around $900,000 to $1 million, it grossed over $38.7 million. This monumental return, achieved in just 21 days, was the moment the world understood that hip-hop was not a fleeting fad, but a legitimate, multiracial cultural force. The iconic image of Turbo dancing on the ceiling and the synchronized lockers moves became globally recognizable, defining a generation. The sequel, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, followed quickly, cementing the franchise's legendary status. At the height of his fame, Shabba-Doo leveraged his success into high-profile choreography roles. In 1987, he became the lead choreographer for Madonna's Who's That Girl tour. His influence extended beyond professional work. He and Madonna also dated for a period. However, the pressure of maintaining a superstar image while pursuing his own artistic depth eventually caused a strain. When Madonna invited him to choreograph her subsequent Blonde Ambition tour, Shabba-Doo declined. He chose instead to prioritize his acting career, taking on the movie Lambada. This decision, walking away from a massive, career-defining world tour, signaled his refusal to be confined to the role of a dancer and choreographer. He was determined to evolve as an artist, even if it meant stepping back from the brightest global spotlight. His career was driven by authenticity, not simply fame. Even after stepping away from megastar tours, Shabba-Doo continued to shape the American and global dance landscape, emphasizing his role as a teacher and pioneer rather than just a performer. He was recognized for his enduring influence, winning the Lifetime Achievement Award for Outstanding Contributions to Hip-Hop in 1989. He also won a Drama Critics Circle Award for Best Choreography for the musical stand-up Tragedy. He used the momentum of Breakin to secure roles in other films, including Tango and Cash alongside Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone, and made a memorable appearance on the classic sitcom Married with Children. However, the relentless pace of the industry took its toll, and Shabba-Doo decided he needed a break. He stepped away from the spotlight to travel the world, focusing on finding himself and teaching the art form he helped to create. He traveled globally, conducting workshops in New York, Italy, Germany, Paris, and Tokyo. His personal dance philosophy and style, a fusion of urban dance techniques, became known as Shui, or Shabba-Doo's way of dancing. This period marked a powerful transition. The commercial star willingly became the humble master, spreading the gospel of street dance worldwide. His commitment to education and the craft led him to formal training, culminating in his graduation from the American Film Institute as a directing fellow in the master's program in 1996. This skill set allowed him to continue impacting pop culture from behind the scenes. In 2006, he was the choreographer for 3 Six Mafia's performance at the 78th Academy Awards when they won the Oscar for Best Original Song. That same year, he helped choreograph the film Kicking It Old School. He also worked on various directorial projects, including the 2017 documentary The King of Crenshaw. In 2010, the original members of the Lockers even reunited to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Choreographers Carnival. Shabba-Doo was a bridge, a vital figure who translated the raw energy of the urban Black and Latino experience into a universally celebrated art form, ensuring that the roots of hip-hop were respected, taught, and preserved for the next generation. The story of Shabba-Doo, the godfather of street dance, concluded with a sudden, tragic final beat. On December 29, 2020, Adolfo Quiñones was found unconscious by a roommate at his home and was pronounced dead by authorities. He was 65 years old. His passing held a painful irony. Just one day before his death, he had posted a tweet stating he was feeling better and was COVID-free after battling a cold. The official autopsy later determined the cause of death to be cardiovascular disease stemming from clogged arteries. The pioneer who inspired millions to move with such vitality had been silenced by a quiet, internal struggle. His death came at a time when he was deeply invested in several creative projects, including working on his book, The King of Crenshaw, and was in talks for a Breakin 3 movie. His unfinished business leaves a void, reminding us that his potential for future contributions was never fully realized. Yet, his legacy requires no further projects. Shabba-Doo's impact is indelible. He took the rawness of street expression, born from hardship in places like Cabrini Green, and gave it cinematic glamour and international acclaim. He championed the culture, ensuring that when the world watched the film Breakin, they saw a reflection of the true, unadulterated passion of hip-hop. He proved that street style held the same weight as any Broadway choreography. He was the leader of the Lockers, the master instructor who taught the world his shue style, and the choreographer trusted by artists from Lionel Richie to Madonna. Though his contemporaries and partners, like Fred Rerun, Barry and Pop and Taco, have also passed, the foundational steps he codified and the cultural doors he unlocked remain open. The quiet dignity of his final years, spent teaching and directing, is as profound as his explosive performances on stage. His spirit lives on not in the awards he won, but in every lock, pop, and b-boy stance executed around the globe. We ask you, the audience, if you can still hear the music in that final, quiet step. If the story of Ozone, the godfather of street dance, reminds you of the power of passion over poverty, let us know. Call to action, CTA. If Shabba-Doo's journey and his role in defining hip-hop resonate with you, share your favorite memory of Breakin in the comments below. We read every comment.